Hello guys, welcome back to Comic Book Cafe, and this time around we're reviewing Thor's issue number 2, written by Jason Aaron and artist by Chris Sprouse. Okay, Thor's number 1 was rather surprising because you find the Thors are nothing more than a police force for Doom. Some people in the world, Battleworld, consider them enforcers. Other people consider them police. But in this case, they try to keep the peace and the law. There's a Thor in every little realm of Battleworld there is. And we start the book off with, of course, how the last book ended with Beta Ray Bill died. And in this book, we start off with him being dead, and at his funeral, you see his funeral, and the oldest Thor, obviously, in their hall in Manhattan. You get to hear about Billy Ray Beta's career, Beta Ray Bill's career as a Thor. That he'd been a Thor for 32 years, and he started off so many years doing Berserker beat, and then he went to they go through. It's rather interesting, the Xavier Rebellion, and so you get to hear all these little events that had happened just by name that we never saw because they'd never been fleshed out in comic book form. But tidy things from like. You hear the names, you go, oh, that's that from this book of Marvel, that's this person from that book of Marvel, or this group, whatever. And he found he'd been his current rank for like 11 years, and and he goes into he has more distinctions than most of us ever have in our lifetime. Does anybody want to say words? And then the Thor, who's his partner, stands up and says vengeance, and they all shout vengeance. And of course, the oldest Thor says, now we've all said our things and our drinks. Now it's time, to go do what you do. And obviously they're all going to go and find out who did this. They want to find out who did this. Who killed a Thor? The greatest crime of all. Killed a Thor. Killed one of their own. And so they immediately start going hunt people down. They go the Hulks, the Ultrons, the Sinisters, the mutants, the monsters, the zombies, everybody. Any repeat offenders. And they only hint that they did... They said advanced interrogation techniques, which means they probably did some nasty things to try to make them all talk. But of course they found out nothing. The only thing they still have is a name, Jane Foster. And so Arthur goes and finds somebody who knew this nurse, Jane Foster, who had died months ago, and asked about her, and that seemed like most of Jane Foster's had been nurses, and all the ones they could find have already been dead. And they said, where's your stuff? And he's like, the stuff was taken by Thor. And he goes, was taken by Thor. And then he turns around to see a Thor behind him who doesn't have a hammer. And you find them address each other. And our Thor from the first issue in this one is the Ultimate Thor. And the Thor he's talking to is the Mighty Thor, which we know from the regular Marvel Universe. Except he's disposed without a hammer. He's been kicked out of the Thor Corps. He doesn't have a hammer anymore. A lot of people now call him Thor the Unworthy. And he asks what's going on, and Thor the Mighty warns him, hey, gotta stop being down this path. You're gonna end up like me. You don't know what you're looking at. He goes, go be a good boy, go do it. Go be a good boy, go play Thor with the others. Go, do what Doom wants. And he kind of takes to it, and they end up fighting. Of course, the ultimate Doom's like, Thor's like, well, I got the hammer, you don't. You don't remember what it does. He goes, I remember what it does. They fight, and ultimately they're kind of like it kind of comes to like a standstill. And the other Thor goes away. The Mighty Thor goes away. And he just tells him, quit looking for Mary Jane. And the very last thing he says to him, they're all dead anyway. Well, there's a surprise coming about this. These people are getting killed in Taunton. So they run across another dead body. And in this case, it's a guy who's been dead for months, just like all the others, same MO. They know the killer, whoever, or the person's taunting him, who's putting him out there, whoever the killer is taunting them. He wants them to find it. He knows that he's taunting them. These people have been dead for months, and now he's putting where they can find him. And they identify him, and the guy's name is Donald Blake. We all know Donald Blake was, of course, early in the Thor series, was the human version, when Thor was sent to Earth by, his father, he was had to be human. So when he was human, he was Donald Blake, and then when he turned into Thor, he was Thor, of course. So Donald Blake means a lot to this. And when the Ultimate Thor sees him, he goes, I don't know him, but I feel like I should know who this guy is. And there's a Thor wolf with him, and there's a little frog, Thor frog, which, again, is funny, a frog and a wolf with him. And they hear noise, and they go to attack it, and at the end you see it's Loki. So that's how the issue ends, with Thor, capturing Loki, or talking to Loki. Because, again, the end of the first issue was Loki meeting Beta Ray Bill meeting Loki, and the next thing we know, Beta Ray Bill's dead, and Loki's nowhere to be found. Who knows if he did or not, but the mystery still stands. Who's killing the Jane Foster? Some died of cancer, why did Donald Blake die, and what does this all mean? Right? The mystery is gotten deeper instead of smaller because Donald Blake is now dead. Which is a cool tie-in to the characters that the Thors have played, or humans they've been, Jane Foster, Donald Blake. Now the question is, who killed him? What does Loki have to do with it? And how does what the Mighty Thor mean? This path will get him disposed like he did, get him lose his hammer and get kicked out of the Thor core, as they kind of call it, the Ultimate Thor. And what's the big secret of all this? What does this all mean? What is the big secret to all this, right? That's ultimately the question. What's the big secret? Why are they all dead? So, again, a really good book. I really liked it a lot. I liked the art in this book. I like kind of the cop mystery setting they go for. I like how they're not, every little turn adds to more questions. Like, okay, all the Jane Fosters they could find are dead. Most of them were nurses. They all died months ago. They don't know who keeps throwing the bodies out for them to find them, who the killer is, whatever, hunting them down. And now Donald Blake is dead. Again, who killed them and why, and what's going on. But you get to learn more about the Thors. Again, a little more of the Thors, a little more of their culture at the very beginning with the funeral thing. You got to learn, obviously, more about this Thor and the Thor Almighty, because they're obviously going to run each other in this case again, because clearly they both have a stake in knowing what happened. One got disposed of it. I'm sure he's assuming that if he goes down this path, he'll find out the world isn't what he thinks it is. But anyway, really good book. It would be good to read the first book to know what's going on in the second issue, honestly, because there's so much they cover in the first book, kind of setting up the Thors. You get to see how there's the police and who's in what pecking order. In the second one, kind of just extends that. But really good book. If you haven't read Thors, you definitely might want to read it. If you like a detective-like superhero book, because that's what this is. It's trying to find out a mystery of why these people died and who killed them. Again, a take on the normal Thor characters and stuff like that. Or Marvel characters, too, because some regular Marvel characters are Thors. It is kind of funny to see Bloodstrike in this book for just a second. Or what? Yeah, the other Thor, the human Thor, after in the late 90s, early 2000s. Anyway, guys, what do you think about Thor's issue number 2? Are you liking the series so far? You like that they're going to go down the cop path with this? Would love to hear your guys' opinions like always, and I'll do another review soon. Later.